point. And the Minnesota Twins hope that 2015 marks the end of a 4-year playoff drought, while the Cardinals hope that 2014 was a springboard for a deeper playoff run in 2015. The Twins and Cardinals are coming up next. It is a beautiful day in Jupiter, Florida from Roger Dean Stadium. An interleague matchup between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Minnesota Twins. And we welcome you to Jupiter, Florida. I'm Dick Bramer along with Ricky Horton. The Cardinals, of course, the envy of just about everybody in baseball with the depth in their starting rotation. Michael Wacha getting the start here today.
He may be the best of them all. He's still just 23 years of age and a very important part of this Cardinal team. Can he come back from his injury a year ago? He was terrific in 2013, which included 2 World Series starts.
Pitching depth has been an issue for the Twins for the last 4 years. Last year, their opening day starter, Ricky Nolasco, had a very disappointing season, but he's hoping to have a much better second year.
Well, Nolasco certainly can pitch well. 15-game winner for the Marlins. He needs to do well for this Twins team to do well.
It'll be the Twins against the Cardinals from Jupiter when we come back. Weather. That's been the case throughout Grapefruit League play here. No weather issues of any magnitude to speak of. And we're very happy to be bringing you Twins and Cardinals baseball from Jupiter, Florida. These two teams will face each other again tomorrow on the other side of the state, Rick.
And they're going to face each other in the season, Dick, the 15th and 16th of June. The Cardinals will host the Twins, and then in a short series, the Cardinals will head to Target Field. I'm looking forward to seeing Target Field in June, and we've got 2 young managers. They're not young in one way, but they're certainly young in terms of their experience. With Paul Molitor in his first year with the Twins, and Mike Matheny has done nothing but win with the Cardinals.
And, of course, it'll take fans in Minnesota and throughout baseball a little while to get used to seeing Paul Molitor as the manager. He replaced Ron Gardenhire after the 4th straight losing season endured by the Twins organization in 2014.
And I'm going to say it before you do. This is a rematch of the '87 World Series. I figured I'd get it in, Dick. It's a lot safer if I handle it first.
Hey, you're going to have a tough time tomorrow because Mr. Blyleven's going to be joining us on the broadcast, and I know he's going to wear his '87 World Series ring.
Sure, he will.
Twins batting order for this Grapefruit League game. Aaron Hicks in center field in the leadoff spot. Then Eduardo Escobar, one of the pleasant surprises in 2014, followed by Eduardo Nunez. Oswaldo Arcia, not only in the lineup, but playing a position. He DH'd the other day. Miguel Sano at third base. Chris Herman catching. Josmil Pinto, the designated hitter. Familiar name and face for Cardinal fans. Shane Robinson hitting eighth and in right field. And Dan Rolfing, the first baseman, will bat ninth.
And Michael Wacha gets the start today for the Cardinals. It's his second spring training start. He was terrific in his first outing. He struck out 5 hitters in the Red Sox game. And I really see him as the bellwether pitcher, really player overall for this Cardinals team. If he's good, he can be one of the best pitchers in the National League. He can dominate the way he did 2 years ago. He had that stress reaction issue in his right shoulder a year ago, but so far so good this spring for Michael Wacha.
Are some health concerns, of course, for this Cardinal pitching staff. Wainwright, Lynn, Lackey, but so far so good for Michael Wacha, and of course the Cardinal pitching staff pitching to maybe the game's best in Yadier Molina.
And it's a much thinner Yadier Molina than we've seen in the past. Yadi's lost 25 to 30 pounds and has really worked hard this offseason. And he's trying to take some of that wear and tear off of the knees and the lower body. And he looks like about a 10-year younger version of Yadier Molina, but still has the talent.
Whether you're in the Missouri, St. Louis area or up north in Minnesota, bear with us. We've had just a wonderful spring down here, 84 degrees. High temperatures consistently in the mid to upper 80s so far in March.
Yeah, we're trying to feel sorry about that, but we're not doing very well, are we?
One of the men on the spot for the Minnesota Twins is Aaron Hicks in the leadoff spot and in center field. Third straight good spring training for Aaron Hicks, but Twins fans know all too well, and now Aaron is convinced as well, spring training really doesn't matter. He struggled mightily during the regular season.
Well, you can open eyes with a good spring training, but you have to follow through.
2 years ago, he made the jump from Double-A and won not only the center field spot, but the leadoff spot for the Twins, and it was a very disappointing year. Last year, not much better. And Hicks with a check swing, an appeal, and strike 2. Had a chance to chat with Aaron during the offseason. I said, what have you learned in your first 2 years? And he immediately answered that spring training doesn't matter. And now he's coming at this 2015 spring training with a little more experience under his belt, knowing that he can hit 300, 400 down here, and it doesn't matter come April.
You'll hear some of the old-time guys talk about it being fool's gold, what happens in spring training. Yeah, and do you want to play well? Absolutely. Guys come here, Dick, trying to compete earlier than you used to. It used to be you come to spring training to get in shape. Now you come ready to compete. But you're going to have to do it over a long haul because it is a long, long season, as we know.
Swing and a foul back. The Twins pretty much cleared the deck of center fielders to make room for Hicks 2 years ago, trading Denard Span and Ben Revere. 2-2 count. And Hicks with a fly to left. Ty Kelly's out there, and the wind pushing hard toward the left field corner. He's able to make the catch for the first out.
We'll take a look at the defense behind Michael Wacha here this afternoon. We just saw Kelly in left field. Tommy Pham injured yesterday as a quad issue. Grichuk will be in center field. Jason Hayward, the newest Cardinal, in right. Peralta and Wilson up the middle, and Carpenter and Mark Reynolds at the corners. Of course, Yadi behind the plate for Michael Wacha.
Jason Hayward in right field will hit in the top of the Cardinal order. Pitches up high to Eduardo Escobar.
Really seems to have found his spot in the order. Mike Matheny's been using him in that second spot. He's moved all around in his career. He's hit leadoff, he's hit third, he's hit fourth. I think Mike Matheny at this point thinks he'll do most of his damage in that second spot.
Have foul at the plate. Eduardo Escobar hitting or playing the position he manned most of 2014. Was considered to be a utility player until last year when he became the regular shortstop for the Twins. And another foul back to the screen. Escobar might find himself in a utility role again this year, with Danny Santana moving from the outfield to the infield at short. Popped up down the left field line, and the wind will push that back into the seats.
It's nice having a couple of switch hitters at the top of your lineup. Gives you a lot of flexibility, and with all the double switching that's going on in this game right now, I just think that's a, I don't say a lost art, but I think it's maybe an underappreciated art to be able to hit from both sides.
And Escobar waits and fouls another one back. A lot of foul balls off of Michael Wacha's offering so far in this ball game. And a bouncer to second. Wilson is there for out number 2. That'll bring up Eduardo Nunez.
Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach for the Cardinals, is going to keep an eye on the changeup today of Michael Wacha. That's really his most important pitch. He can touch mid-90s with his fastball. He's developing the breaking ball. It's getting better and better. But his real dominating pitch is a changeup. When he came back from his shoulder issue a year ago, the changeup wasn't there. That's how he gets his strikeouts. That's how he sets up his fastball.
Missing down and in to Nunez. And foul back. Remarkable, the Cardinals, of course, getting to the playoffs last year, winning the division. And the rotation was hardly the stable part of the roster. They had to move a lot of people in and out of the rotation over the course of the year, and behind the plate too, with Molina being set down in the middle of the year because of an injury.
Well, he's the one guy Mike Matheny doesn't want to lose. Yadier Molina is the hardest guy to replace, and with all the good young arms the Cardinals have had, they were able to go to a Carlos Martinez, and now we've got Jaime Garcia back in the fold, who was injured a year ago, and you've got some other options, including Marco Gonzalez, who's a name that I think we're going to hear a lot about in the future.
Carlos Martinez will pitch tomorrow against the Twins in Fort Myers against Kyle Gibson. Fly ball center field. Drifting back is Grichuk, and he's there to make the catch. A good first inning for Wacha as he sets the Twins down 1-2-3. Beautiful day in Jupiter, Florida. Dick Bramer along with Ricky Horton. No score after a half inning. And the Cardinals will line up this way against right-hander Ricky Nolasco.
Matt Carpenter leads off, a familiar spot for him, followed by Jason Hayward and Matt Holliday. You have Peralta, Molina, and Reynolds in the middle of the lineup. Randall Grichuk getting another start. He's had a very good spring. He'll be in center field. And Jacob Wilson leads the Cardinals in hits so far this spring. Will hit 8th, and Ty Kelly again gets a start in left field.
Against Ricky Nolasco, who's hoping that 2015 will be a redemptive season for him. First pitch flared foul down the left field line. Nolasco signed to, at the time, the biggest free agent contract in Twins history. And there's no sugarcoating it. It was a flop of a season. The opening day starter, injured in the middle of the season, was better after coming back from a bit of an arm issue. But by and large, the Twins did not get nearly what they were expecting to get from Nolasco.
His command seemed to be about the same in terms of walks as it had been early in his career, but opponents hit .316 against him. That means he was not hitting corners, too much in the middle of the plate, not really good stuff, but we've seen him good. Mentioned in 2011, he was a 15-game winner for the Marlins, and there are times where he gave the Cardinals fits.
The numbers he accumulated in the National League, principally with the Marlins, warranted a big free agent contract, but tap to the right side. Getting in front of it is Nunez, and he throws to first to retired Carpenter. One down. And Nolasco will pitch with this Twins lineup behind him. In the outfield, Oswaldo Arcia, who was the right fielder last year, expected to play in left this year. Aaron Hicks in center, and former Cardinal Shane Robinson in right. An infield of Sano, Escobar, Nunez, and Rolfing, with Chris Herman hoping to win a spot as a backup catcher or utility player doing the catching here this afternoon. Jason Hayward hits next for the Cardinals. Outside, ball one.
Hayward really seems to have fit in well in this Cardinal uniform. Seems very comfortable in the early going in spring training. Had kind of an off year as far as power was concerned a year ago, but really more of a gap hitter anyway. Likes to hit the left center, right center. And what he needs to do a little bit better this year is hit lefties at a higher clip.
Nolasco falls behind 2-0. And now up and away 3-0. A lot of people around baseball, when they heard of the acquisition of Hayward, thought, well, there go the Cardinals again, picking up a very good player, a shrewd trade. 3-0, green lighted, and he grounds it foul.
Really a strength-to-strength trade, too. Getting rid of Shelby Miller, who is a 10-plus game winner and certainly has a good future ahead of him, may be exactly what the Atlanta Braves need. So sometimes those are the best trades, where you actually help out both clubs.
3-1 now to Hayward. And ball four, he'll take a walk and fill first base. Familiar name and face for Cardinal fans. He pitched for the Cardinals back in the mid-'80s, and Neil Allen on the far right, the new pitching coach for the Twins.
He's on that 1985 Cardinals team. Neil, in fact, was a neighbor of mine, Dick, and just a wonderful teammate. He did not have his best year. He got traded for Keith Hernandez, which was a lot of pressure when he came to St. Louis. Keith was, of course, a fan favorite, and Neil has been in coaching for a long time and has really kind of worked his way up through the minor league system, and just loves the job of coaching young players and turning them around and getting them to the next step, and getting his first taste here at the big league level.
Last 7 years, Allen was the minor league pitching coach in the Rays system, and the Rays, maybe more than any other team, brought players, specifically pitchers, to the big leagues, and they were major league ready when they got there, and Allen deserves a lot of credit for that. He'll try to work some magic with the Twins pitching staff this year as Hayward leads off first base and Nolasco throws over there. That is a point of emphasis for the Twins here in spring training, and Nolasco was victimized by the running game a lot last year, and the Twins are really trying to tighten that up this year. Be more conscious and aware of runners on base, holding them closer to the bases. Foul back. And it's 0-2.
One of the interesting things about spring training, you have games to play, and of course players try to make teams and show what they've got, but there's also time to work. And this morning the Cardinals spent about a half an hour working on rundown plays only. There was probably 60 players on this very field early this morning, and they were working on pickoffs at every base and backing up and doing the little things right. And all teams do that, and you can't expect to do it right in the game if you don't practice it in spring training.
Popped up. And backhand out of play. Holiday, one of those players that was brought over to St. Louis and has excelled. Before that, of course, McGuire, Edmonds, and the Cardinal fans are hoping that they've got another good player that they can keep in St. Louis for a number of years, and Hayward, and develop around him offensively. Inside, and Herman with a look toward first. continues to wear the face guard, an additional layer of protection. His batting helmet, and uses it on the bases as well. Breaking ball missing inside. Of course, the most frightening beating that occurred last year was Giancarlo Stanton, who was hit late in the season. And Stanton and the Twins starting pitcher, Ricky Nolasco, were workout partners this offseason in the Los Angeles area. Former teammates, of course, with the Marlins. Moving down the left field line, but hooking foul. In Nolasco's case, trying to forget about a very disappointing 2014. And within the workout program and hiring a nutritionist, trying to generally get back into better baseball shape, he dropped 20 pounds. So while the Twins are expecting more from Ricky Nolasco, there's actually less of him.
And hopefully for longer.
Yes.
And he hopes so too. And you only get one shot at this game. It's a young man's game, and you get to be in your mid-30s, and you got to start updating your resume a little bit. And you don't want to waste it by not being in the best shape possible.
And Nolasco drifts up high and now filling the count to Holiday.
We saw Stanton here yesterday, and he looked very comfortable in the batter's box. I think a lot of people concerned about whether or not he would be distracted by the face guard he's now wearing and maybe be a little tentative, but he didn't look tentative at all. He looked like his normal scary self.
When I talked with Nolasco yesterday about that, he said he's going to be just fine, knowing Stanton very well. 3-2 runner goes, and the pitch tap foul into the Twins dugout. Where Wacha seemed in control of things throughout his first inning, Nolasco struggling here with the one-out walk, getting ahead of Holiday 0-2, and now it's a full count. A good bet that Hayward will take off again here on 3-2. There he goes, and the pitch swung on and missed. And Herman's throw off target. It's a stolen base for Hayward on the strikeout of Holiday.
Herman's smiling right now. I'm not sure if he thought he might have been interfered with by Holiday walking across the plate, but he got kind of a half throw. The strikeout on the pitch up in the zone, and here's kind of the throw. Holiday starts to drift over the plate. There's no call of interference, and throws sails wide.
Twins regular catcher is Kurt Suzuki, an all-star catcher for the Twins in the American League last year. 2 down, runner at second, and here's Johnny Peralta. It seems odd for someone who's focused primarily on the American League over the years, seeing Peralta most recently with the Tigers, before that with the Indians, and toward the end of his tenure, Ricky, with the Indians, there was talk of moving him to third base, that he'd gotten a little thicker and was unable to cover the ground at short that first the Indians wanted. But then he stayed at short for the Tigers, and now here he is years later still playing shortstop for the Cardinals.
And he looks a little thinner to me than he was a year ago, too, and certainly than 2 years ago. And Peralta last year surprised all of us who are kind of in the Cardinals world with the defense that he did play. He had more range than we thought, and was very, very solid defensively. Took a while to get on track offensively, but certainly a professional hitter.
2-1 now to Peralta. Let's see, high pitch count for Nolasco already here in this first inning. Hoping to face just 4 batters. Foul back. And it's 2-2.
Great example this inning, as you mentioned, of the pitch count getting up. Hitters able to spoil good pitches, not having a swing and miss pitch working yet, perhaps from Nolasco's point of view. So all of a sudden, you're not really pitching poorly, but you've thrown a lot of pitches. You've worked hard, up over 20 pitches, as you mentioned, and very much of a contrast to Wacha's simple, easy, get through 3 guys inning that we saw on the top of the first.
19 pitches for Wacha in his first inning, facing just 3 batters. Breaking ball missing, and a block by Herman. I'm talking with Neil Allen a couple days ago about Nolasco, and he said, he doesn't have electric stuff. He's got kind of pitch to contact stuff, but to make it effective, he's got to pitch inside to both sides of the plate, inside to a righty, inside to a lefty, to then go back and locate and hit your spots within the strike zone.
Yeah, the defense behind you is going to be important for a guy like Nolasco, too. If you're not the swing and miss guy, you better have guys that can catch it.
Foul back, pitch left up, and Peralta peeled it back to the screen.
The guy I'm excited to see play here this afternoon is the third baseman, Miguel Sano. And anybody who is a fan of baseball has heard that name. There he is at third base on the left side of the infield. The defense behind Nolasco, but Sano is just a tremendous talent. And sat out a year ago, as all Twins fans know, but he is a star in the making.
Another long at bat here and another full count to Peralta. If he reaches, Molina will have a chance here in the first. Swing and a miss. Off-speed pitch struck him out. That took 24 pitches, but Nolasco did pitch a scoreless first inning. And it will be Osvaldo Arcia leading off the second for the Twins.
This Bud's for you. And by Chevy. Come in and visit your Mid-America Chevy dealers today. 6 games during the 2015 season when the Cardinals are giving away jerseys. Get tickets to all of these games through the 10-game jersey pack, or buy them as a single game ticket. They're on sale now at Cardinals.com.
A scoreless first inning, now the second inning. Middle of the Twins lineup today. Arcia, Sano, and Herman will face Michael Wacha. Twins have recorded a 5-3-1 mark in Grapefruit League play. The Cardinals 5-4. Of course, none of it matters. You just want, as best you can, to get through March healthy. Cardinals taking some not extraordinary measures, but some unique measures, particularly within the starting rotation. Adam Wainwright had a bit of an abdominal pull that was alarming at the very beginning, but that situation seems to be okay. And Lance Lynn and John Lackey will all be there when the bell rings in April.
Well, it's part of the depth that this team has, where you don't feel like you have to panic to get everybody ready on time. You feel like you can just kind of breeze in, give them their chance to get ready. And in Lance Lynn's case, it was a hip issue. And Lackey, it's just kind of a veteran guy saying, you know what, I think I can just kind of pass on some spring training and be ready to pitch in October and just save those innings for later. And Cardinals agreed with that. That's what he did with the Red Sox, so why not?
0-2 quickly to Arcia. Yeah, the bouncer to second. Easy play for Wilson with a chest-high hop. The camp got off to kind of a frightening start regarding Adam Wainwright.
Yeah, the Cardinal fans really held their breath collectively when news was that Adam Wainwright was going to kind of miss some time, and I'm not sure anybody was really sure what it was at first. He actually did it with a 45-pound weight lifting, and so he's just doing a normal workout thing. Wainwright is still throwing bullpen, still throwing to live hitters, but he's not fully 100% as far as being able to run and do some baseball-related activities. So they're just taking it easy with Waino and say there's still hopes it'll be the opening day starter. It's not sure, but that's the hope.
Literally and figuratively, this man on the box now is a big part of the Twins' future. The question is, when will the future begin? Miguel Sano. Big swing and a miss. He has tremendous power. His physique suggests first baseman, maybe an outfielder, but right now the Twins are going to leave him at his third base position. And here at Roger Dean Stadium, there's a strike, and Sano's at bat is quick. On a check swing, it ends in a strikeout, 2 down.
Sano's listed at 6'4", 262. It certainly has quick hands. Waka's able to get him here on the pitch inside. He may have been looking off-speed pitch and could not hold his hands back on that fastball in the inner half.
Here's Chris Herman. Herman, a catcher by trade, but over the last couple of years, he's tried to expand his versatility. Played some at first base, in the outfield. What we've seen, Ricky, with so many teams, even in the National League, going with 13 pitchers from time to time, if you are a bench player, or if you can become a bench player that can fill a number of different positions, you're only doing yourself a great favor. The ball, a jam shot and a roller to third. Carpenter has it, throws on the run, and one of the reasons Herman might find himself on the big league roster as a utility player, he does run pretty well.
Well, I think catching is another big part of that. And you talk about 13 pitchers on a team. That means your bench is smaller. And that means if you get late in the game and you have to pinch hit for your one catcher and you've only got one other one that's available, you're stuck. And often you won't do that, as we see Herman beat that ball out. So having an infielder even that can catch some. The Cardinals are putting Pete Kozma behind the plate, trying that with him and Garcia and others just to see if maybe they could be a guy that has a little extended versatility.
Another guy that figures prominently in the Twins' catching plans down the road is the batter, serving as the designated hitter here today, Josmil Pinto. Twins are confident that Pinto can hit. He had some defensive issues last year. Sent down to the minor leagues, not because his bat didn't show some promise, but really struggled receiving the ball, and he whistles one up the middle, a base hit. Herman will check in at second base. A couple of 2-out hits, and the Twins have a 2-out threat. Back to Jupiter, Florida for Shane Robinson. An appreciative round of applause from the Sea of Red here at Roger Dean Stadium.
Oh, I love that. Love the folks here, and close to 7,000 capacity here at Roger Dean Stadium, and that's just not a little round of applause. This guy didn't have a good year for the Cardinals last year, but yet the Cardinal fans showing their appreciation to a guy who was their #1 pinch hitter back-to-back seasons. And one thing you're going to get out of Shane Robinson is good defense and a good professional at-bat.
That's what attracted the Twins to him. And a pitch over for strike one. 9 years in the Cardinal organization, parts of 5 years with the major league club. And when asked of Robinson, Twins general manager Terry Ryan said they really liked the way that he could put together good at bats. Just off the plate, and it's 1-1.
Had a chance to see the video of the #1 Twins prospect, Byron Buxton, and the collision that he had in the outfield, and that's the worst collision I'd seen an outfielder have since the one Shane Robinson had when he was a Cardinal minor leaguer. Very similar. I mean, just awful to watch. And Shane came back from that, and perhaps those two have something to chat about.
The Twins in the market for an extra outfielder. And Robinson might be that guy. Finds himself behind Waka, his former teammate, 1 and 2. Inside. One of the most controversial trades in Twins history involved that man when the Twins traded Tom Bernansky early in the 1988 season to the Cardinals for Tommy Herr. Tom back in his third year now as the Twins hitting coach. Tom Bernansky, bouncer left side. Gobbled up by Carpenter, forced at second base, and that takes care of the Twins in the second. Couple of hits with 2 outs. They're left aboard, no score here in Florida. Play clock, which will be enforced at least once we get going into the season a little bit. Pitcher, how do you view this effort to speed up the game?
And I'm okay with this part. And the clock and baseball don't seem to go together with me, Dick. I'm not a big fan of the clock. And, you know, I'm calling it the shot clock, and I'm not sure that's the right thing to call it. But I think you're just trying to time that a pitcher's ready when we come back after break. And there's some pitchers that have taken so long to even get out on the mound to get their warm-up tosses. Right. And I think it's just a chance to kind of tighten that up a little bit.
I'll be curious to see how this unfolds and how effective it is, and the pitching change limit that is going to be enforced. Everybody wants the game to move along at a good pace. You can have a 3.5-hour game, but if the pace, Molina fooled by an off-speed pitch 0-2. If things are moving along, 3.5 hours fly by. It's just the downtime and the dead time and the needless delays within a game.
I'd like to blame it mostly on the hitters, but of course I have that perspective. Perhaps all of them agree with me.
0-2 catch, and Molina hammers it to center. A sharp single. Looked like it hit the very crest of the mound and skipped into center field. Velasco got ahead of Molina and then left one out over the plate that was drilled.
Always a good approach to drive the ball up the middle. That's what Molina does here. Normally you see the ball squared off the bat better when you take it up the box, and Molina does just that. Yachty, probably better than any Cardinal, offensively uses the entire field.
Mark Reynolds, the batter. Velasco pitched around a 1-out walk by striking out Holiday and Peralta in the first. Now Molina at first, nobody out. Fly ball center field. Hicks going back, still going back. Now making an adjustment, making the catch one away. Hicks does that, and it has burned him from time to time. You see really good center fielders do it, and Hicks considers himself that, but on a windy day to turn your back on the ball and then relocate it to make the catch. Fans remember a fly ball early in the season last year in Chicago where Hicks did that, turned around and looked, and the ball was 40 feet to his left because of the wind.
And you say good outfielders can do it because they have such a great instinct, but you better have good eyesight. You better be tracking it, and didn't hurt him there. The wind is an issue here at Roger Dean from time to time. It's blowing out slightly to left, say about a half a club wind right now, but there are times where it swirls in the outfield.
Molina takes off, and he is out at second base. all these years of broadcasting, I'm not sure I've ever said Molina takes off from first base.
Well, I've seen Yachty do, in fact, he's very good at doing the delayed steal. But this is just one of those straight steals. Hey, I lost 15 to 20 pounds. Let me see if I'm all of a sudden Lou Brock. Well, not quite.
No, I don't think I ever saw Jose or Benji ever try to steal a base. 1-0, 2 down, and Grichuk takes outside 2-0.
We'll say Yachty is a smart base runner, and the delayed steal is a whole different deal. You just try to take the quick jump, perhaps off the pitcher, or wait till the catcher's maybe not paying attention and steal off of him.
Up and in, 2-1. Grichuk, an October star for the Cardinals in the playoffs last year. And he drives one to deep left field. And that one's not coming back. A long home run off the patio level out there in left center field. And the Cardinals take the first lead 1-0.
Grichuk is already having a good spring, and he just added to it there. That was a bomb. It's kind of where Mark McGwire used to hit home runs here back in the day. And we'll listen to the crack of the bat, and he knows it already, and so does Nolasco.
And Arcia, after taking about 2 steps to his left, knew it was gone. Here's Jacob Wilson. Wilson having a really good spring as he hopes to win a job with this Cardinal roster. 1 strike to Wilson.
Grichuk has the power off the bench. He can play all outfield positions, which creates that value you talked about earlier, and really fit in well a year ago. He had impact moments, and it's just nice to have somebody coming off the bench that could be a game changer.
0-2. Tapper left side, charged by Escobar, throws on the run, and that takes care of the Cardinals in the second. They get a 2-out home run from Grichuk and take a 1-0 lead. Bringing you Twins Cardinals baseball from Jupiter, Florida. The Cardinals getting a home run from Grichuk to take a 1-0 lead. Michael Wacha pitching with a lead. Pitching to the number 9 batter, Dan Rolfing. Grichuk with a long home run to left center field. And Rolfing drives one to right field that hit in the general direction of Hayward, one away. Middle of March. These two teams will face each other back-to-back during the regular season, find themselves facing each other back-to-back in spring training. We're in Jupiter, Florida, Roger Dean Stadium, facility shared between the Cardinals and the Marlins. Next Sunday, the Twins come back out here. There's Hicks with a drive to left center field, headed to the corner. Kelly chases it, but it's out of play. Next Sunday, the Twins will make it back here to Jupiter to take on the Marlins. Pretty good breeze blowing from the right field pole to the left field pole, and we've already seen 4 or 5 fly balls drop into those seats in the left field corner. Hicks takes on the outside corner, 0-2. Hit a fly ball to left his first time up.
Ty Kelly getting the start in left field today for the Cardinals because of the injury yesterday to Tommy Pham, who was having a terrific spring training and very tough to watch with a guy that had been injured so many years in the minor leagues. He's getting his chance. He's doing well, and just hurt a quad going into that left field corner, and unfortunately he's day to day. I don't think the injury is serious, but he's out of the Cardinals lineup today.
That foul hitting Hicks in the box. Still 2 strikes. I believe the count is 2-2. Yep. Walker retired the first 5 batters, gave up a pair of 2-out singles, 1 an infield hit. And Hicks takes up high, and it's a full count. Hicks struggled hitting, but he did draw a lot of walks, particularly as a right-handed batter. And in mid-season last year, gave up switch hitting. And a belt-high strike called. Hicks is a strikeout victim, out number 2.
We talked about the injury to Tommy Pham, and this is what happened yesterday. Petrick was on the mound and struggling, and he needed to play defensively. Pham went all out to try to make this play in the left field corner. Ended up being a 3-run triple, but worse news for the Cardinals and Tommy Pham was he came off the field limping with a quad injury.
And being the competitor he is, Pham said, you know, he could feel it tightening up even before the game, and then he took off in a sprint, felt it tightening up. And he said if his leg was 100%, he would have made that catch. 1-1 to Eduardo Escobar. Hit a bouncer to second his first time up.
One of the things you love about Walker is the way he throws downhill. That pitch right there, I mean, he was high and threw the ball low and got the intended result.
And a 1-2-3 third inning. You experience the same thing too. You don't often meet fans who come down to spring training who don't come back again. What a wonderful experience for baseball fans, regardless of where your team is, to get down here and experience spring training.
You come once, you're going to come back. There's no question. In that little area right beyond the Cardinals bullpen, and You have folks watching us on Fox Sports Midwest back home in Mexico, Missouri. Thank you for that sign. But they love that area in particular. They'll get autographs, and you get so much closer to the action. And again, we mentioned there's about 7,000 capacity here at the stadium, so you just get closer to play, and people just love being here.
I just drove through Mexico, Missouri twice last week. On the way down to Fulton, Missouri to visit my sister.
That's your turf. That's right. It
my
is.
old turf, yeah. One strike to Ty Kelly. He'll lead off the third, followed by Carpenter and Hayward. Fly ball center field. And Hicks will play the wind. It drifts back to him in medium deep center, one away.
We had a chance to see it at bat from Dan Rolfing playing first base today for Minnesota, and for Cardinal fans and folks back in St. Louis, he's a 2007 graduate from Oakville High School. And when he was younger, he was a big Ozzie Smith fan. In fact, he talked his mom into giving him gymnastics lessons because when he became a big leaguer, he wanted to be able to do a flip like Ozzie. So he actually was that forward thinking as a young player in Oakville, and had a nice visit with Dan and a lot of friends in common, and it's good to see him here in a big league spring training game.
You know, I like it when teams do that. Now, the Twins, I think, made a concerted effort to bring Shane Robinson over here on this trip.
Agreed.
That's a nice touch. Robinson got a wonderful ovation here from the Cardinal fans, and that's something that he's going to remember regardless of whether he makes the Twins roster or not. And now, too, Rolfing, you know, he gets his chance to play in front of a lot of friends and family back in his home turf.
And he did say he was excited about it. Both of them are. And Shane, of course, I think that ovation he got, that's going to stick with him a long time. But Rolfing, of course, grew up loving the Cardinals, and this is a great opportunity for him.
Nunez makes a play at second base, 2 away. Nunez didn't play a whole lot at second base for the Twins last year, or before that with the Yankees. The Yankees had a pretty good second baseman in Robinson Cano. And last year, Brian Dozier solidified that position for the Twins. Here's Jason Hayward with 2 gone in the third.
Well, Dick, when you talk Minnesota Twins in 2015, you have to talk about, of course, Joe Mauer, who's not here today. Hopefully we'll see him tomorrow, but also a couple of new acquisitions as Hayward lines that one in the left field, but Torrey Hunter back in the Twins fold, and Irvin Santana here to solidify that rotation a bit.
A lot of new faces on the roster and the coaching staff, and of course a new manager, and so that they're really a stable organization. Hayward will come out, and a pinch runner in. Hayward with a walk and a single in his 2 at-bats. We'll identify the runner as soon as we can. Here's Matt Holliday, strikeout victim, his first time up. Hit to left. Again, a first pitch offering. With Hayward singled on the first pitch. Now Holliday singles on the first pitch, and that'll put 2 aboard for Peralta.
Pinch runner for the Cardinals is Magneuris Sierra, who was their minor league player of the year a year ago, and Sierra was just put on the roster here to join this game today to give him a little big league experience, and there he is out on the field. He is a youngster. He's just 5'11", 160, but he hit .386 a year ago in the Gulf Coast League. So he was awarded the top hitting prospect for the Cardinals, and getting a little taste of big league action here this afternoon.
And Peralta takes the first pitch, down and away, ball 1. Cardinals with a couple of hits in the second, and now a couple of 2-out singles here in the third. You mentioned it in the last year gave up an opponent batting average of .316. High by any standards, particularly when in the National League with over 1,300 innings pitched, 212 starts. The National League hit him at a .270 clip. So his opponent batting average last year spiked nearly 50 points.
It seemed like he had a lot of trouble, and talked to Paul Molitor about this a little bit before the game. He just had trouble getting out of innings too. Just seemed to just cave in on him. So a situation like this, Normally a veteran pitcher, a guy that's going to be your frontline guy, is going to find a way to get out of it and strand some runners, but it just seemed to cave in on him a year ago. And Paul Molitor mentioned his first year at the helm. I have great respect for him, Dick. I've known Paul a long time, not only as a player, but as just a great leader and a good person, and just excited about him getting this opportunity to manage, although I really enjoyed Ron Gardenhire, too. Of course, a legend. Good Twins fans.
Breaking ball missing. Velasco struck out Peralta on a breaking ball, stranding Hayward at second base in the first. Velasco approaching the 50-pitch limit, such as it is. And now a check swing and a full count. The runners will take off. Pitcher was Ryan O'Rourke warming up in the Twins bullpen. A couple of 2-out singles. Now a full count to the cleanup batter here in the third. Velasco with that inside move, trying to get the rookie straying. Just little things like that. You know, Cardinal bench is watching how this young man's handling situations like this, and he was put into the game to score from second on a single. And Velasco, the veteran, tried the inside move. The rookie wouldn't bite, and those things will leave an impression, I would imagine.
No question. You got to do the little things right, and that's why the coaching has to continue. And for a young man like Sierra, who's just a raw talent and really still learning English. Met him during the offseason. Very little English at this point. So he's got a lot to learn, but a lot of talent.
And that time he was late in going to third base. And there's a throw out of Peralta at first base. Nunez to Rolfing, and the Cardinals strand 2 in the third. As Cardinals lead the Twins so far 1-0.
Oh, it's outstanding.
And earlier today, a step forward for Adam Wainwright.
Well, and this is really what you think about with Wainwright right now. It's not just the pitching, but it's the agility that goes along with it. And I think that's why he's got the fist bumps going on right there, because he feels okay feeling those ground balls. And that's really the issue with him, with an ab problem. An ab strain is what it's being called. And Cardinals and Mike Matheny just being maybe a little overcautious with him, but it makes sense.
This time of the year, caution is warranted and recommended. Twins going through a similar situation with their closer Glenn Perkins. Pitched off the mound today for the first time since he felt a little hard ground ball. Nice pickup by Reynolds at first. Nunez to the bag. One away. Play by Mark Reynolds.
Well, Reynolds is here because of his power. There's no question about that. He's kind of an all-or-nothing hitter at the plate. He'll strike out a lot, but he'll hit a lot of bombs. But that's a nice play going to his left. Matt Adams has shown that you don't really think of him as a defensive player, but he's shown that his hands are very good at first base. So both those guys will get their share of time at that first base position.
Nick Greenwood is the new pitcher for the Cardinals. Principally a reliever last year. Did make one start for St. Louis.
Greenwood not an overpowering left-hander, but he finds way to get outs.
To the second. And 2 down as Arceus put in retired. Waka pitched 3 innings, gave up a couple of hits, an infield hit, and a solid hit to the outfield. Good outing for Waka. 2 down, and here's Miguel Sano. Struck out on a check swing his first time up.
Dick, this is a big man right here.
Drafted as a shortstop, or signed, I should say, as a shortstop out of the Dominican Republic. Quickly converted to third base. And
I guess he wasn't a 262-pound shortstop at the time.
No, but you know the Twins projected that he was going to be a big frame guy and was going to fill out. And an oddity last year, the Twins were anticipating his likely breakthrough to the big league roster last year, but a rarity, a position player needing Tommy John surgery. And he did not play at all. He was about this time of year last year where his elbow issue was such that they did an MRI, found the ligament tear, and he missed all of 2014. Bouncer hit to short. And a very quick 1-2-3 inning. And the Cardinals have a 1-0 lead through 3.5.
Day. Cardinal theme tickets allow fans to share a common interest while enjoying a unique promotional item. This year's theme tickets include Star Wars Night, Mizzou Night, and more. For info, you can visit cardinals.com/theme.
Earlier we talked about Miguel Sano, a big part of the Twins' future as a position player. Alex Meyer, a big part of the Twins' future in the pitching department at 6'9", one of the taller pitchers in the game, coming over to the Twins a couple years ago in a trade. The Twins are hoping that he will secure a spot as a 5th starter at some point, if not coming out of spring training.
I think it's exciting to look at some of these talented young players in the Twins organization. Paul Molitor talking before the game about he's excited to have them, but he doesn't want to look too far forward too fast.
Molina on the first pitch lines a single to right center field. Second hit for Yadier Molina.
I guess the point there, Dick, is that you've got a young player like Meyer, and you've got Sano, and you've got Buxton down in the minor leagues, and you think, well, I've got to pay attention. The guys are here first.
Right.
I don't want to be too far ahead of myself, but in the back of his mind, he's got to be happy about the fact that there's 6 or 7 of the top 30 prospects in all of the minor league baseball are Minnesota Twins farmhands.
A lot of candidates for the bottom of the rotation spot for the Twins. Meyer among them. Tommy Malone, veteran left-hander, hoping to make a bid. He'd be the only left-handed starter in the rotation. Veteran Mike Pelfrey, who might find his way onto the team as a long reliever.
We'll see Kyle Gibson tomorrow.
Kyle Gibson, he's penciled in the rotation. If he's healthy, he'll be there. He had a hot and cold season last year. Bouncer left side. Sano will have a chance. Fires to second, and that is all they'll get. With Reynolds beating the relay, 1 down. Way, and Reynolds taking over at first base.
So is Sano a third baseman? Is he a first baseman? I guess time will tell. He looked pretty smooth on that play. Maybe a little slow in developing. The ball not hit that hard by Mark Reynolds, so you're sure you make one good solid throw about chest high. No chance to get Reynolds.
I think teams preach that throughout spring training. Make sure you get the first out, and within that play, Sano didn't try to rush anything, got the sure out, and kept the double play in order here for the next batter. Grichuk homered his first time up. A no-doubter to left center, up and in. For Meyer, he pitches consistently in the upper 90s. He's got a spike curve, and in the words of the Twins general manager, he has the best stuff in the organization. It's a matter of refining it, controlling it.
You want to get a fun conversation. Get about 6 pitching coaches together in a room. I did that for a year with the Indians. I was a pitching coach, and so we had one of our main pitching bosses came in and said, okay, I want you all to discuss what having good stuff means. And boy, did we talk for hours, and we talked in circles, but it's part of the reality. Is good stuff having the pitch, having a multitude of pitches? Does it include the command that goes along with it? And that's where kind of the argument comes, and I think it makes it interesting to discuss the art of pitching, because that's really what it becomes. Not just the ability, the God-given ability, but what do you do with it? That's why a guy like Neil Allen has a job, or Derek Lilliquist, of refining those tools and making that pitcher an artist.
In Meyer's case, came to the organization with a great fastball, good curveball. They've been trying to get him to craft an effective changeup. There's a good fastball down at the knees, 2-2. Unlikely that Meyer would make the team as a long reliever. And Herman glides to his right and scoops the ball out of the dirt.
Talked about the downhill of Michael Wacha at 6'6". Well, Meyer has his own downhill working, and if you're standing in the box, it's almost hard to fully explain what it's like to be in the box and have somebody with a high release point that is that tall throwing the ball downhill. It seems like you see about half a baseball when that happens.
Runner goes, pitch grounded to short, and they get the lead runner at second. Nunez dropped the ball in the exchange, and it will be out number 2 recorded at second. And a risky play, but a good play as it turned out for Escobar to get that lead runner, even though the runner was off with the pitch. 2 down, runner at first. And talking with Neil Allen, the pitching coach for the Twins, about Meyer, he says, you do have added challenges when you've got someone who's 6'9". And in a nutshell, what Allen is working with Meyer on, making his delivery more compact.
Right.
And what Meyer has come to the spring training with this year, he drops his hand with the ball low out of the stretch position or out of the windup, and there's a throw to first, and they're trying to bring it back more along the lines of his belt and shortening things up, which will make his mechanics smoother.
Well, you think about that drop, and the ball comes out of the glove at first. It's going to create, for a guy that's that big with that long of arm, a really long motion. And that long motion means your arm's going to be behind unless you take a long time to deliver to the plate, which has a lot of problems. It can create control problems, and I'm sure that's why Neil Allen's working on that, but it also makes it almost impossible to hold runners if you have that long a delivery.
1 strike. And I think you can see even from the center field camera the path of the ball when it leaves Meyer's glove, and there seems to be a loop almost in his delivery, and then to get it up to the point of release, the ball travels a good long distance.
And the only way to make sure you're not way out in front is to be slower with your lower half. And if you're trying to be quick to the plate and you've got that long arc, you may be behind a bit.
Popped up center field. We say pop up. It'll end up being caught in left center field about 350 feet from home plate. A scoreless fourth for Alex Meyer. Both in their first year with in their jobs with the Twins. Molitor was a coach for the Twins last year, got to know the personnel very well, and then before that was working in the Twins minor league system. So a lot of the guys he'll be in charge of managing here he'll have some background with.
So many good things to say about Paul Molitor, who's in that first year of managing. As we look at third base coach, that's Gene Glynn. And we've tried to highlight the coaches that we're seeing on a first-time basis here, and Butch Davis is the first base coach for Minnesota. But Molitor was very active in the Players Union back in the day. He and I were on the negotiating committee for one of the collective bargaining agreements, and I got to say, players owe a lot to Paul Molitor. His kind of sense and common sense and not being kind of too hot, too cold, and he was such a great mediating force for the players, and players respected his ability. Hall of Famer, 3,000 plus hits, but as a person he was very, very sharp and shrewd in those moments, and again, players owe him a lot.
Both Molitor and Glynn, Minnesota natives. Molitor from St. Paul finished his career as a player with the Twins. Briefly the hitting coach for the Seattle Mariners. Tyler Lyons, you see his numbers from a year ago, one of the few Cardinal pitchers who didn't start a game. They had 12 different pitchers last year start games for them.
He did the year before and had a couple of great starts to begin his career, and again, not an overpowering lefty, a little bit like Nick Greenwood, who we saw last inning. Greenwood had that nice quick inning, and now a base hit to lead things off against Lyons here. But he's got a very good slider.
He got an infield hit his first time up, rolling one up the middle for his second hit of the day. Yeah, bring the SPF 45 if you're coming down to Florida, because we get a lot of sunshine down here. Great weather. And that's a big factor, too. You want to get through the spring with no injuries on your roster, but you do want to make sure that you get the games in. Everybody can get their work in. And so far this year, there hasn't been much weather interruption at all here in Florida. Pinto in Arizona, I think they've had some rain. Some bees have created problems in Arizona.
I saw that. I saw that.
A strike to Pinto.
Will Ferrell created some problems in Arizona.
Pinto with a sharp single to center his first time up. He's trailing 1-0. Grichuk home run for St. Louis. Check swing. And 1-1.
Twins are playing their 10th spring game, as are the Cardinals, but I think it's important to note that this is day 23 of spring training for the Cardinals. So they've been down here a while. It's a long day for these guys. They get here about 7 in the morning to start things off, and of course they love doing it, but there's all kinds of other things going on in the backfield. You're working on pitchers fielding practice and your extra hitting and all the things that go into the fundamentals of the game, and the Twins doing the same thing day in and day out. And the game becomes your chance to show what you can do.
And outside now to Pinto. And it does change, doesn't it, when you're a rookie or a young player and you're trying to make an impression and maybe try to make a ball club for the first time, as opposed to a veteran. You've been in the league, you've proven that you belong in the league, and then you can just kind of go about your own pace. And Pinto squirts one to the right side, and that'll roll through, barely getting to the outfield grass. Rounding second, going to third is Herman. And a couple of not particularly well hit balls, the Twins have a threat. First, Herman rolling one over the second base bag, and that one almost died before Sierra could field it.
You play a double play depth up the middle, hoping for a double play, so you cheat towards the bag. And that's where Wilson is. And there's the hole on the right side. In fact, he takes a step to his right when the ball is hit, kind of an inside-out swing, and it's finding a hole.
Shane Robinson came up with 2 men on and 2 out in the second, and hit a grounder to third to end the inning. Another opportunity here, and this one sharply hit, scooped up by Wilson, and he'll start a double play. The Twins get the tying run. Robinson wraps into a double play. It's one apiece.
Your comment about spring training just totally rings a bell with me. Thinking about the first few times you come to spring training and everybody says, oh, isn't spring training fun? I don't remember it that way. I remember it as painfully stressful, as you're worried about every little thing you do. And remember the first time I went and I ran sprints, I got yelled at by Bruce Sutter. He called me over and he said, you're running too fast. You're making us old guys look bad. So he was serious. He said, don't you dare make us look bad. So I'm thinking, okay, so my goal here is to work hard but not show up. I mean you needed a notebook to keep track of all the rules. So after 4 or 5 years of spring training, then you start to settle in and enjoy it.
Swing and a miss, and a couple of quick strikes to Rolfing. And Rolfing strikes out on 3. Twins get a couple of singles to start the inning, tie the game up in the top of the 5th. I'd like to meet your daughter. She does a very good job. One apiece, bottom of the fifth. Of course, this game doesn't count for much. Two teams will face each other, 2 games in St. Louis, and then immediately 2 games in Minnesota. And we're looking forward to going to St. Louis. Always a great experience for everybody from either league to be around that great baseball atmosphere. And then, it's a night game on a Monday, day game Tuesday. Then in Minnesota, a night game Wednesday and a day game Thursday. So the 2 teams won't be in the other cities for very long. But we encourage fans in St. Louis to watch the Twins in St. Louis, and the Minnesota fans to watch the Cardinals in Minnesota.
I'm looking forward to seeing Target Field. I've heard nothing but great things about the venue and just haven't had a chance to be there yet. And it's one of the things, interleague play, I kind of came slow into liking that, Dick. But, as it's kind of come along, I really appreciate getting a chance to see new cities and new ballparks and get in touch with the tradition of other organizations, too, in our case in the American League. And you're thinking about Rod Carew and Tony Oliva and Harmon Killebrew and some of the Twins greats. I think that's part of being a baseball fan.
2-2 the count to Kelly. Well, you'll be in Fort Myers for our telecast tomorrow, and you'll see Mr. Carew and Mr. Oliva. They're spring training instructors for the Twins. Harmon Killebrew was before his passing several years ago. A little fly ball short left field, and that ball drops for a base hit. And now, runner going to second base, and he's in with a double. Garcia from left, hits from center, and neither got there. Shortstop Escobar retreated, but it landed in no man's land, a double for Kelly.
Well, if you're Paul Molitor, you're probably thinking that does not need to be a double. Somebody's got to get that ball quicker, but you've got to give some credit to Ty Kelly. He's hustling out of the box, and he's trying to make a team here. Switch hitter. Identical stance from the left side as he has from the right, and he's been daring on the base pass. We've seen him do this a couple of times in the early going.
In the 4th inning, Meyer pitched around a leadoff single, and now a bloop double from the number 9 batter. And that'll bring up Matt Carpenter. A couple of ground balls to second so far. Foul back, a strike.
Dick, I think you look back at our starting pitchers here today, Michael Wacha for the Cardinals and Ricky Nolasco. We highlighted them in the open. I think they both acquitted themselves well. Nolasco went a solid 3 innings, just gave up the home run to Grichuk. And Michael Wacha, only 2 hits in his 3 innings of work.
And now Meyer, who has piggybacked Nolasco in his first couple of outings this year. Meyer got off to a bit of a slow start. He had a death in the family. His grandfather passed away, and so he missed a few days of camp trying to catch up again. And now Jose Oquendo coming in to talk to Carpenter.
Magneuris Sierra, a name that I'm not even sure Cardinal fans know very well yet, despite him being the player of the year a year ago. Be fun to watch him hit here this afternoon.
He's in the on-deck circle. Fastball outside. Twins trading both Denard Span and Ben Revere to get pitching help. Vance Worley came across about the same time. Didn't work too well for the Twins. He was a reliable pitcher for the Pirates last year. Fouled back. 2-2. Meyer and Trevor May, who was also trying to win a spot on the team, are in the rotation this year. And it's time for those guys to step up and win a job. They've been in the Twins organization, each of them now 2 years. May made his major league debut last year and got better as his rookie season went along. 2-2. Making ball in the dirt.
Phil Hughes is going to need some consistent help behind him in that rotation. He was terrific a year ago. The numbers that we talked about, you and I, before the game for Phil Hughes, just I mean, they're really just epic numbers in terms of the low number of walks, the high strikeouts, the 16 wins, but he's going to need help. Santana's going to be part of that solution, I'm sure, but you need guys to kind of grow to that next level, some of the young pitchers, to be 13, 14, 15 game winner.
Up and away, and now Carpenter draws a walk. First and second, nobody out. That will bring up Sierra. Sierra entered the game as a pinch runner for Hayward in the third inning. And young man Sierra dressing for the game, entering the game as a pinch runner, and we'll see whether he's asked to bunt here with runners at first and second, nobody out.
July a year ago, he had 11 multi-hit games in the 1 month. 11 extra base hits, 9 for 9 in stolen bases. So really an exciting young player.
Meyer misses badly with the first pitch, and now Sierra will have a chat with Oquendo.
He may have missed badly with the sign. Jose wanting to make sure he's got it right.
Sierra squared early. Oquendo getting some dialogue from the Twins dugout as he retreats to the coach's box.
Jose's been around a long time. Played for Whitey Herzog, played for Joe Torre. All those years under Tony La Russa, and now Mike Matheny.
And whatever the discussion was about, Sierra swings away on the 1-0 pitch.
He said, "Saca el bate," swing the bat. That's my guess.
Okay. 1-1. Long look in from Meyer. And fisted foul. There's so much to watch. You come to a ball game. This is a game again that isn't going to be reflected in the standings, but I'm looking in the Twins dugout and I'm seeing Gene Glenn give signs to Miguel Sano what bunt play is on in case the bunt was laid down, who's supposed to go where, and you got Oquendo's peeking over his shoulder at the Twins dugout and he's giving signs. And
you're establishing expectations that you expect to be carried out once opening day comes around. Now, interestingly, Mike Matheny has a bit of a different philosophy, and he'll say the games in some way don't count, but to me, I want to establish kind of this idea that we're going to win, and I care about winning even in spring training more than most. I want that expectation to be there. I think it takes care of a lot of the little things if you win and you set that bar that high.
Meyer in a situation where he'd like to get a strikeout here, but in Sierra, a young man who had 202 at bats in the Gulf Coast League last year and only struck out 30 times. So for an inexperienced ball player, he didn't strike out that often. We'll see if Meyer can get his wish and get the first out of the inning. Breaking ball wide of the plate. You know, watching Meyer here and his delivery reminds me of somebody who pitched briefly for the Cardinals, mainly in the American League with the Cleveland Indians, a little bit like Justin Masterson.
Yeah, I can see that. Masterson has moved on from the Cardinals with his sinker.
There's the strikeout. With a fastball, one down. Cardinals decided to let Sierra swing away, and he swings through what looked to be a pretty good belt-high fastball.
Well, there's the strikeout that Meyer needed, and he got it up in the zone. A lot of lefties like the ball down in the zone. He went up about belt high and even more. Fastball running away from Sierra.
Now these situations, Twins are looking at Meyer and his ability to enforce a little damage control. First and second, nobody out, and he got the inexperienced Sierra, now a tougher customer in Holiday.
Isn't that really what pitching is? Damage control. I mean, you're going to have problems. Somebody's going to make an error. You're going to walk somebody occasionally. But finding a way to get that out, the strikeout when you need it, the double play when you need it.
Big swing and a miss. And last year, Holiday with 574 at-bats and 100 strikeouts. One strike to the Cardinal slugger. Wearing back and another fastball across the letters, 1-1. If you're Meyer, you're going, well, I don't want to be in situations like this. But ultimately, his ability to make the club or not will depend on how he handles situations like this.
So he's got to be thinking, got the strikeout he needed, but now he's thinking, well, how do I get Holiday jammed to get him to roll the ball to the left side of the infield and get 2 outs with 1 pitch?
Wearing back with some more heat, and it's 1-2.
And one of the things you've got to really force yourself when you're a young pitcher is not to overthrow in these situations. You want to get a ground ball. There's a good, solid fastball. But sometimes when you overthrow, you compound your problem. The ball gets straighter. Your command goes downhill.
See what Herman calls for here on 1-2. Just blew him away. And as necessary as the strikeout of Sierra was, this one a little more impressive. He just reared back and threw 3 fastballs past a swinging Matt Holliday. 2 down.
Last one at 95 miles an hour. This one also up in the zone a bit. Holliday can't lay off that. It's at the top of the strike zone, but he can't hit it either.
Now Garcia will hit. And still a little more work to do for Alex Meyer here. He's gotten a couple of strikeouts to strand a couple of runners so far. Greg Garcia, the batter, and he takes strike at the belt, strike 1.
Garcia played at the University of Hawaii with Colton Wong, the Cardinal everyday second baseman, and he's one of those guys that is a utility guy that can do a lot of different things well. And he is really kind of the replacement in some ways for Daniel Descalso, who has moved on to Colorado, was kind of a mainstay off the Cardinals bench the last few years. But Garcia, very similar type player to Daniel Descalso.
1-1. There's Wong in the dugout. 21 strikes for Meyer out of the 35 pitches. Escobar sneaks behind the runner at second. Meyer trying to pitch around that pop-up double by Kelly to start the inning. Another fastball and another swing and a miss. If there's been one consistent issue for the Twins pitching staff over the last 4 years, pitchers who don't have swing and miss pitches, and it looks like Meyer's got one with a mid to upper 90s fastball.
I'll say we've seen a number of them in this inning, and a couple of those guys contact hitters too, especially Garcia at the plate, but he came up late.
1-2. 92, but off the plate 2-2.
To be 6'9", 25 years of age and throw 95 miles an hour. Boy, wouldn't I love that.
Well, at any given time, you might have been 1 or 2 of those.
Well, I'm sure I was 25 once. That's about it.
Fouled back. And the pitch count continues to mount for Meyer, who might be done after a second inning, depending, of course, on perhaps what happens here in this 5th inning.
Speaking of pitching, great pitchers. I look forward to working, Dick, again tomorrow with you and Bert Blyleven, your partner, who's just such a terrific talent in the booth, but what a pitcher he was.
Be a breaking ball, and it got a roller to second. Rough start to the inning for Meyer. Hop fly double and a walk, but he got a couple of strikeouts, a weak ground ball, and it's a scoreless 5th. We're tied at 1. 6th inning. Twins getting a run on a pair of singles and a double play grounder in the 5th. It'll be the top of the order for the Twins here in the 6th inning. Aaron Hicks will hit right-handed against Lyons to lead off the 6th. Mentioned in passing, I think during his 3rd inning at bat, that Hicks last year so frustrated from the left side of the plate. He tried to do something that was, I mean, I don't know how people switch hit in the first place, but the only thing I can think of that would be more difficult would be being a switch hitter since age 9 and trying to hit right-handers from the right side of the plate at the big league level. And then a few weeks later, after being demoted to the minor leagues, Hicks started to become a switch hitter again.
You've seen that happen with certain hitters. Actually, the Cardinal manager was considering being a switch hitter at the end of his career. He was trying to learn it as a 28-year-old, and he started hitting from the left side. And, you know, just the hand-eye coordination that guys at this level have, they make it look so easy. There's a look at Matheny. He worked one entire offseason with Andy Van Slyke, a good friend of his, and he'd throw him batting practice to try to get that left-handed swing down because he was vulnerable to the breaking ball. That's why you do it. That's why you want to be a switch hitter, to kind of take away that breaking ball that's sweeping away from you. But, well, you've got to be elite level hand-eye coordination guy to make that work.
1-2 to Hicks. There really haven't been many issues from the right side of the plate for him. He's just struggled mightily from the left side of the plate. Against left-handers last year, as disjointed as his season was, Hicks hit .279 and an on-base percentage of .410 from this side of the plate. And he takes an off-speed pitch.
I'm going to bring up 1987 again, Dick.
Note that I have not once brought up 1987.
I've done it twice now. But the Cardinals that year had a number of switch hitters. And Jose Oquendo actually played a lot of first base that year for the Cardinals.
And what, Pendleton could only hit from one side, not the other, right?
But Terry most of the year, but had an abdominal issue, so he could only hit one way. But he was a switch hitter. Of course, Ozzie Smith and Willie McGee and Vince Coleman, a number of switch hitters on that Cardinals team.
Hicks draws a walk. He runs very well and is at first, and here comes Escobar. I had a chance a couple nights ago to spend some time with Chili Davis, who was that rare player, a switch hitter with power from both sides of the plate. I think we established that Chili was 8th on the all-time switch hitting home run list. And he said there was a year after he'd gotten to the big leagues when he just struggled from the left side of the plate and considered giving up switch hitting himself. Yeah. He's the hitting coach now for the Red Sox, and Shane Victorino gave it up from one side, and now this spring Victorino's back to being a switch hitter.
Recall a time in Busch Stadium, and Cardinal fans may remember, John Tudor was pitching to Bobby Bonilla, and he was tired of not being able to hit Tudor's changeup, so he hit left-handed against Tudor and hit a home run. Great
jump by Hicks, and he will steal second base. Got a great jump from the left-hander. Molina, as good as he is, didn't have much of a chance to throw him out. So a stolen base, and the go-ahead runners in scoring position.
So here's the jump that you're talking about. He's going already. You'd think that Tyler might have been able to see that, but he'd already started in his mind going home, and he just didn't kind of redirect his attention to first base. Really, you just need to step off if you see that happening, but it's tough to do when you got your mind made up to go home.
And Escobar tried to inside out a ball to the right side to move Hicks up another base. Teams throughout baseball try to, in spring training, drill their hitters in situations, and what do you want to do here, what do you want to do here, and you know, you hang around the batting cage and you'll hear it all the time. All right, runner at second, nobody out. An interesting exchange the other day. It depends on who the hitter is. Here's the 1-1 pitch to Escobar. The dribbler left side, and Hicks got a late start, but he will advance to third base. Bernansky talking with one of the younger Twins hitters who was trying to push the ball to the right side. He said, no, runner at second, nobody out. You take his place at second base. If they're pitching you inside, go ahead and drive the ball and get a double yourself and get the run batted in.
It depends on the hitter, it depends on the type of hitter you are. It also depends on game situation. I mean, there are times where there's a runner on second base, it's 1-1 in the 6th inning. A game like now, you've got to get that runner from second to third somehow. Now, he just did it, Escobar did, kind of an odd way by making the third baseman come in to field that ball. Hicks was smart enough to take the bag. He knew it would be vacated. And Nick Leyva used to teach, longtime Cardinal minor league coach, and certainly been with the Pirates, part of their winning tradition over the past few years. He used to teach there's about 7 ways to go from second to third, depending upon where the ball is hit on the left side of the infield alone. So third baseman comes in, shortstop to his left, to his right, and you just have to be alert and ready for it.
Now with 1 out, Cardinals bring the infield in, and Lyons gets ahead of Nunez 0-2. And advancing to third base, Hicks may have brought a smile to Paul Molitor's face. Just that was the type of play that Molitor was so good at. And ball fouled back. No, it's a swing and a miss, and Hicks will come in and score. So not a foul tip. Nunez will reach first base, but on the wild pitch and strike 3, the runner from third, Hicks, comes in to score.
See that very often with Yadier behind the plate. I wonder if he was mixed up a little bit or crossed up with his delivery way out of the zone, just sailed away, and kind of an odd swing by Nunez. And I think surprised that he maybe swung at was Yadi, and the ball just tailed away. Just an odd little sequence there.
Now RC against a lefty. Twins getting the go-ahead run here in the 6th without the benefit of a hit. Swing and a miss, and back to Molitor. This is what he's tried to preach. He was one of the more cerebral baseball players of his time, and really excelled at base running and trying to take the extra base when it's given to you. Now here, what do we have? A leadoff walk, a stolen base, guy advancing to third on a short grounder to a third baseman, and coming in on a wild pitch. And now a pitch in the dirt, and Nunez will take the base, getting a good read on the ball in the dirt. And that, too, something that Molitor did so well, looking in toward home plate. And if you sense that the ball was in the dirt, take off right away, knowing that the catcher, very likely, as good as Molina is, isn't going to catch the pitch in the dirt.
That's how a team gets better, doing those little things right, manufacturing runs the way the Twins have in this inning. And they're not done yet.
A couple of wild pitches, and now fouled back. And it's 1-2 to Arcia.
Lyons not really sharp here today. His breaking ball, which can be nasty at times. He has kind of a sweeping slider. It's a bit in between a curve and a slider, and some would call it a slurve. But when he's right, that pitch, hard for left-handers especially to pick up, but he just hung that last one.
And Arcia drills one to center, a base hit. Around third, Nunez will score. And a good at bat for Arcia, who has the challenge of trying to establish his ability to hit left-handed pitching. And he delivers an RBI single here in the 6th.
Surprised to look at the numbers of Arcia and see with the sweet swing that he has. And we worked the game, Dick, a couple of years ago, and he was in the lineup that day, and really a phenom at the time. And boy, just looked like a great guy at the plate. But he strikes out a lot, and it just seems to be a surprise to me that a guy that's that gifted, that good a hitter, strikes out as often as he does.
And Sano fouls him back to the screen. Well, the Twins have tried to work with him on having a better 2-strike approach, and an encouraging sign here in the 6th.
And a good approach there. Fastball down and in.
1 strike to Sano, 0 for 2, a check swing strikeout, and a bouncer to short. A towering fly to left field that's not coming back. Where will this end up? A long home run for Sano. And he got under it. During batting practice, he actually hit one off the roof of the building in left field, where the Marlins have their spring training home, and a towering home run for Miguel Sano in the 6th.
Well, this is my first look at Sano, and it has not been disappointing. There's the power we've heard about. Ball disappearing way over the left field wall, and I had the sense too that he did not get all of that. He got under it a bit, but he gives the Twins an even bigger lead.
A 4-run inning, and here is Herman, who has a pair of singles. We'll wait and hear from the manager as to what has been the most gratifying part of this 6th inning. The power of Sano, the 2-strike approach from Arcia, Or maybe the first run of this inning that was manufactured without the benefit of a hit.
My guess is he'll like all of the above.
However they're constructed,
right. We'll
a 4-run inning. And now here's a drive down the right field line, chased by Sierra. And he makes the catch. Some good speed and an adjustment.
Looks like Mark Reynolds now taking over in right field.
And Reynolds is in right field. 2 down.
So Scruggs has come on to play first base. Reynolds has just moved to right field to replace Sierra.
2 down. And that will bring up Josmiel Pinto. Pinto, who has gone 2 for 2 here today. Single up the middle, a line drive single, and then a little bleeder through the right side of the infield in the 5th. 1-1 to Pinto. Breaking ball over. 1-2.
Twins, of course, didn't bring all of their players here to Jupiter, but the Cardinals, like the Twins, having their starters play a little longer as spring training progresses. Again, game number 10 for both teams. You see Yachty still in the 6th inning. You see others still playing. Grichuk in center field for the Cardinals. Sierra has actually moved from right field to left field for St. Louis.
I would think it'd be particularly important for catchers to extend themselves and get their legs ready over the course of March. Swing and a miss. Pinto strikes out, but a good inning for the Twins. They get a big home run from Miguel Sano, a 2-run home run, part of a 4-run 6th inning.
For a Chevy call to the bullpen, A.J. Actor will be the 3rd Twins pitcher of the afternoon. He follows Alex Meyer, who pitched very, very well, and Ricky Nolasco, a solid 3 innings of work where he gave up just 1 Cardinal run. Actor 7 games a year ago out of the Twins bullpen, and he will have the bottom of the 6th here in Jupiter.
Four runs for the Twins in the top of the 6th inning. And now A.J. Actor will pitch to Yadier Molina, Mark Reynolds, and Randall Grichuk. Actor called up 7 games for the Twins out of the bullpen. Been in the Twins system since 2010. Born in Toledo. And he delivers ball 1 outside. Started last year in Double-A, worked his way through Rochester, and finished the year with the big league club. Outside 2-0.
Of course, most teams are not built around their relievers, and especially their middle relievers. But you think about a team like the Kansas City Royals and what they did a year ago by being solid in their bullpen. And I don't mean just middle guys, late guys. They were unhittable 7, 8, 9. And for the Twins, maybe their next level is to get more of a shutdown bullpen, especially in those middle innings. Have guys that just kind of answer the bell, get hot, have big breakout seasons, and help out their starters.
To right field, caught by Shane Robinson, one away. One down. You know, we know the game has changed, and there's so much more emphasis on relief pitching than there used to be, but my goodness, have you ever seen a World Series like last year where so little was expected or received from starting pitching? I mean, the starting pitching for the two World Series teams, with the exception of Madison Bumgarner, the starting pitching was frankly terrible.
Yeah, and that was a big exception, by the way.
Yes,
it was. Bumgarner was both starter, reliever. I mean, he could have done anything in that series. What a terrific job he did. But I think that's really been true the last couple of years. There were times where your starter gets in trouble in the third inning and he's out.
Yeah.
And to me, it's created a lot of pressure for your bullpen to be hot late. But, of course, a lot of teams get into the playoffs and keep their run going because they do have a hot bullpen in September and October.
Fly hit the left, hit pretty well. Arcia going back at the wall, and that ball will carry out a home run for Mark Reynolds. Usually when he hits them, they stay hit for a while, and after he gives up a home run, it's a 5-2 ball game.
You mentioned the wind's blowing out to left field. I'm not sure that matters much when you've got the power of Mark Reynolds or what we saw from Sano in the top of the sixth inning. Grichuk earlier, home run to left as well, but that's a hanger, and he got underneath it a little bit, but he hits those towering shots, Mark Reynolds, and he's a guy that's going to hit 20 home runs every year. A year ago, he hit just 196, but he can do damage.
Grichuk did some damage with a home run his first time up. A lot of strikeouts, but when he hits it, some damage can be done. Check swing and a foul, 2 strikes. And a breaking ball down and away. 1-2. Miss, and Grichuk is down on strikes, 2 down. He's getting 3 innings from Ricky Nolasco. A couple of scoreless innings from Alex Meyer. Now, Meyer's case, he gave up a base hit. First pitch he threw in the 4th inning, a leadoff single, but pitched around that, faced just 3 more batters. Did a nice job in the 5th inning after a bloop double and a walk. First and second, nobody out. Struck out the rookie Sierra. And then the veteran Holiday getting Garcia to bounce out to end that threat. The Twins didn't get the 3 innings they were hoping for from Alex Meyer, but within his 2 innings, some signs of encouragement about an inning that could have spun out of control, and he pitched very well within that inning.
Swing and miss fastball. He worked kind of up in the zone well, got the strikeouts when he needed it. Certainly shows that you have reason for optimism with Meyer.
And now Actor trying to respond to a home run by Reynolds. He has struck out Grichuk, gets ahead of the next batter 0-2, and just missed the outside corner.
Dick, I haven't noticed anything in this game yet, and we are now in the bottom of the 6th inning. Almost a seamless indoctrination of the new rules. I mean, the speed up rules in between innings and the batter staying in the box. I mean, nothing seems to be odd or out of place yet to me.
And Actor doesn't want to give up too many home runs, but he reacts well, having given one up by striking out the next 2 batters. run inning, doing a little bit of everything in the inning.
Yeah, there was some small ball that was a part of it. It started out with the Lions walk, then the stolen base, a key moment in that inning. Ground ball to the left side, and you saw the smart base running by Hicks taking third base. Then the strikeout, or is it a strikeout? It gets away from Molina. That ends up being a run. So they manufacture a run, and then they provide it with the big fly. That's Sano, the great star of the future, or perhaps the present for the Minnesota Twins.
Maybe the most significant thing that happened that inning was the alert base running of Aaron Hicks. To put it in context, he was taken out of a ball game a couple of days ago because he forgot how many outs there were. Paul Molitor saying, we just can't have that. And Hicks really was on his toes throughout the inning after he got to first base with the walk. Steal of second, advancing to third, and coming in on the wild pitch. So been a good day in that regard for Aaron Hicks. And now, what a great story. Mitch Harris comes into the ball game to pitch to the Twins in the 7th.
29-year-old right-hander, played last year in Double-A with the Cardinals, and you'd say, well, that's kind of old to be a Double-A pitcher. Well, Mitch Harris, after starring for the Naval Academy and being one of the top pitchers in all of college baseball, served on active duty, Dick, for 5 years, 2008 through 2012, served our country, and came back and decided that, boy, I'd like to still give this baseball thing a shot. The Cardinals gave him a shot in 2013. His fastball has come back. In college, he was throwing towards the mid-90s. Now, after 5 years of serving, he had kind of lost that fastball a bit, but he has gotten back on track, made a significant contribution, not only on the field in Springfield a year ago for the Cardinals, but also helping the young players, teaching them what it's like to be a man. I mean, it's pretty impressive what this guy has done for this Cardinal organization and what they've done for him, giving him this opportunity.
Albeit from a distance, I can promise you I'll be watching Mitch Harris and hope that things work out well for him. We're lucky because the teams produce these wonderful media guides, and they're filled with so much information. Some of it gets used on the air, some of it doesn't get used on the air. But to me, the most succinct sentence, 2 sentences that I've ever read in a media guide, covering the time of period in this young man's life from 2008 to 2012. 2 sentences. Did not play, on military list, serving 5 years of active duty in the United States Navy. Now that, to me, is going to be a lot more important than the 350, 400 some pages that are in this book. What a great, great story.
I could not agree more.
Leadoff walk. Twins will get a base runner here in the 7th inning.
One of my favorite things about spring training, oddity of spring training, is that when you're done pitching, you get to run in the outfield. There's something fun about that. As Shane Robinson's afternoon is complete, he's run 4, and there's pitcher, you do your work and you get to just be on the field with everybody else. That's just unusual.
Fly ball center field. 1 down.
Tell the story of John Stupper, who's now the head coach at Yale, who was a Cardinal pitcher in the 80s, who pitched the spring training game and got beat around and was so mad. He ran in the outfield starting in the 2nd inning, and he ran with every pitcher when they came out. Every inning there'd be a guy to join him. He was so mad he ran the rest of the game.
Alex Meyer getting some work in. And sometimes, too, in spring training, you'll see pitchers who will pitch 2 innings. They were hoping to go 3 innings, and they're not happy, so they'll go to the bullpen and, in essence, pitch another inning out there just to try to build the stamina up for what they hope will be, a start in the rotation in the big leagues.
And sometimes I think that has value, too, because you can have your pitching coach out there with you, or the bullpen coach, or one of your fellow teammates that you could say, my slider wasn't quite right. What do you see?
Center field. Another catch for Grichuk. The pinch runner is Ortiz for the Twins, Danny Ortiz. And the batter was Eric Ferris, hitting in what was Aaron Hicks' spot. And Argenis Diaz is the batter now for the Twins. And strike one. Twins getting a 4-run 6th inning. Take a 5-1 lead. Cardinals got one back on a Reynolds home run. Diaz lifts one to right field for the 3rd out. He's going to lead off walk. Shane Robinson leaving the ball game. The Twins go quickly in the 7th.
To you by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. 2015 schedule features 7 bobblehead giveaway dates, including Molina, Ozzie, Brock, and more. Get your tickets through one of the 5 or 10 game promotional packs or as a single game ticket. On sale now at Cardinals.com.
Twins in front of 4-run 6th inning. They have a 5-2 lead. A.J. Actor for his 2nd inning of work. Commonplace now for a relief pitcher, even with no one on base to pitch from the stretch. Did you do that?
I did, and there, at times, I think it was becoming kind of in vogue really in the late 80s, early 90s. And I think there's times where you do it when you're having trouble with your mechanics. It really essentially should be the same motion, but there are times where you go and you wind up that you actually create more problems than you solve. So stay out of the stretch, keep it simple.
Kelly takes a 4-pitch walk to start the 7th inning.
Every time I come to spring training, I think about some of the great teachers that have been a part of molding the minds of and ability of young players, and there were none better than George Kissel in the Cardinal uniform anyway. And George immortalized here at the ballpark, and George many years goes all the way back to Branch Rickey's in terms of when he started. Was originally hired by Branch Rickey, but George, a great teacher of the game and sorely missed.
Ball scoots past into left field.
That's Xavier Scruggs, who came on in the 5th inning, jumping on that first pitch.
And that's Aker Meneses in for Sano at 3rd. Meneses trying to flag it down with his glove. 1st and 2nd, nobody out.
Well, Scruggs was ready, and Meneses had to be ready because that ball scooted past him in a hurry.
Get the tying run to the plate here. And young Sierra, who came up with runners at 1st and 2nd, nobody out in the 5th. And Alex Myers struck him out with a mid-90s fastball. Hopped up behind second base. And infield fly rule was called with the second baseman. I believe that's Beresford retreating. He never really established position underneath the pop-up. catch was made. The out recorded, 1 down.
Well, Atlanta Braves fans would not want to hear that conversation because we had that with Pete Kozma in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and that, let's just say, created some consternation.
Yes.
It's kind of one of those fuzzy rules, and it's an infield fly if the infielder can kind of naturally and easily make a play, and it's in fair territory with first and second or first, second, and third. And in that case, I think the umpire just ruled that it was a reasonable expectation for him to make that play.
In this case, Beresford was looking up into the sun, still moving into the outfield grass.
Well, reasonable minds do differ.
That's right.
Just ask the Atlanta folks.
Watch the second baseman, Beresford, retreating behind second base. Now he's looking right up into the sun.
Well, you don't have to be in the infield, and that was
right.
the case with Pete Kozma, who Atlanta Braves fans would say was halfway to left field, if not more.
Of course, if you're the umpire in their defense, they have to make an emphatic and quick call, because the whole point, of course, is to let the base runners know what the situation is or isn't.
And the extension of that rule is that you advance at your own risk,
right,
from the runner's point of view. But they are told clearly, infield fly, batter's out. So there's already an out. So you can do what you want after that. You can still tag up, you can still go. But if he catches the ball,
you're not forced to advance to the next base.
Exactly.
Right. Check swing and a strike, 2-2.
Interesting, in spring training, the umpires will typically change spots on the bases. So the first base umpire will be at second base for the next inning. The home plate umpire will stay there, but the base umpires will switch just to kind of get a feel for it. It's their spring training too. Not that they ever make mistakes.
Right. Rolfing has moved behind the plate now, it appears. Done going out of the dirt. Now it's a full count with 1 away and runners at first and second. And Actor tries the inside move in the unlikely event the runners would be taking off. And they take off, and it's ball 4. Didn't think with the score being what it was, kind of batter up there, that the Cardinals would send the runners, but they do. It's a moot point. Actor with his second walk of the inning, and they're loaded with 1 down.
He's thought that spring training strategy sometimes kind of creates situations where you're going to take chances in spring training.
Regardless of what it says.
And then all of a sudden you see that it works, and you think, well, maybe we should be doing that more. Why not create some pressure? Why not run more? Hey, it worked.
Greg Garcia strikeout a ground out for Garcia's last time up, and he takes strike 1. Actor's faced 8 batters, retired just 4 of them. Fastball over the inside corner. 2 strikes. Twins pitchers have not had a 1-2-3 inning yet in the game. Even though they lead by 3 runs, that lead very much in jeopardy here in the 7th. And a strikeout for the second out of the inning. Garcia leaving the bases full, 2 down. 2 Cardinal runs have each come on home runs. First by Grichuk and then by Reynolds.
Both of them bombs. Grichuk came in the second inning. He got a pitch in the middle of the plate and does what he does so well. Drive the baseball. And then Mark Reynolds, who's been a home run hitter his entire career. This one's a bit of a fly ball home run, but it had the distance as well. That's all the Cardinals scoring so far this afternoon.
Tony Cruz hitting in what was Molina's spot. Run at first, go ahead, run at the plate with 2 down. Breaking ball, a check swing and a strike.
I'm not sure if the Twins have made any moves today yet, Dick, but the Cardinals did announce that they sent down 5 players, and they've trimmed their roster down to 52 players. Still quite a few bodies here at spring training.
Twins have an off day on Monday, and it's anticipated that the first moves will come shortly after that. Foul back to the screen, 2 strikes.
Most notable name probably from the Cardinals' point of view, John Gass, the left-hander, who was injured a year ago and is working his way back health-wise. One of the 5 sent out, including Michael Ullman, one of the catchers they signed in the offseason. And Mike Myers, who we've seen a bit of here in spring training, one of the youngest pitchers in camp. Those 3, along with Steve Bean and Alberto Rosario, sent out today.
Minor league games starting early next week for most teams. So as disappointing as it is for players to be sent down, here's a nice play by Rolfing, getting down low and digging a pitch out of the dirt.
That's how they teach it at Oakville High School in St. Louis, Missouri. Well, I don't imagine he played too much behind the plate in high school.
That's a better one right there.
Wow, terrific play, showing his agility. Well, we mentioned he wanted to take gymnastics when he was younger so he could be like Ozzie Smith. It came in handy there, because this is quickness right here. I mean, he's got to get his body and his glove in front of that little slider down and away, and you never know where that ball's going to bounce. When it's a breaking ball in the dirt, it kind of can take a little skip and a hop, and you better smother it, and that's exactly what he did.
Pitch was headed for the area outside of his right shin guard, and he was able to get in front of it. Little pitches over there in the batter's box, and they've been scratching through that for 6 innings, and you never know what kind of a bounce you're going to get, how much spin there is on the breaking ball.
Exactly.
2-2. Breaking ball. Check swing foul. Well, that actor wanted to leave it where he did. He hung one over the inner half of the plate. Check swing foul, and the count remains 2-2.
He carved up Garcia with the bases loaded, and he has Tony Cruz off balance here.
And foul back after trying to leave the bases full. Most of the threat here, Actor's own doing, with a couple of walks. The leadoff walk to Kelly on 4 pitches. And a base hit. And a walk to fill him up with 2 down, with 1 down. Cardinals out hitting the Twins 8-6. There's a half swing, strike 3. And Rolfing gets the pitch, just steps on home plate for the force out. And the Cardinals leave him full in the 7th. Beautiful day here in Florida. I hope it has warmed up where you are. I came down from Minnesota earlier in the week, and it was going to get up into the 60s, maybe even 70 degrees by the time I left Minnesota. But
and Dick, I know this trick right here. When the parents said to their kids, just run around me about 100 times. You know, they give them a lot of nice food, and they get them all amped up, and they say, hey, just run until we tell you to stop. I know that parent trip, been there, done that.
And then get them in the car seat, and they're asleep the entire way home.
Exactly. So there's plenty to do here at the ballpark. Sam Freeman figures to be a big part of the Cardinals bullpen this year. A year ago, his command got better, and he started attacking the strike zone with his 95-plus fastball and kind of set up his changeup, which may be his best pitch, and those kids aren't done yet.
James Beresford will lead things off, hitting in the third spot. Nunez had gone 0 for 3 with a strikeout and a run scored. Beresford kind of an oddity now. At one point, Twins scouted Australia very heavily. At one point, there were 16 players in the system from Australia. Beresford, one of the few remnants of that heavy recruiting emphasis. Mount Waverly, Australia. Grant Balfour was with the Twins before starring elsewhere from Australia. Liam Hendricks, more recently, was a starting pitcher for the Twins from Australia.
It really has become a world game, hasn't it?
And that's good.
I agree.
Swing and a miss. Beresford tries to spin on a fastball. 2-1.
It really is a World Series now. There's a time where it was not. And think about the tremendous influx of Latin players from Colombia, Venezuela, Dominican. Some of the game's best talent.
3-1. One of the top prospects for the Twins is a young man who's probably a couple of years away at least. Max Kepler from Germany. Beresford, his first year in the Twins organization back in 2006. It made a slow, steady climb at AAA Rochester. Had a good year, hit .276, not much power. Three and 2 to the leadoff man here in the Twins' 8th. And Beresford will take a walk. Instead of pitchers, it's probably true for position players too. If you're left-handed, you just have a longer shelf life, it seems, than right-handers. And I say that with all due respect.
Well, it is. I tell you, it's a blessing to be left-handed in this game. There's no doubt. It creates opportunities. It gives, I think, managers a chance to look at you maybe a second time and say, well, this may balance out our team a little bit more. And I think that's really what's going on a little bit in the case of Sam Freeman on the pitching side of this, is being left-handed, along with maybe Kevin Segrist and Randy Choate. Maybe all three of them make this squad as relievers, but you also have Tyler Lyons and Nick Greenwood, who we've seen in this game. So the Cardinals featuring 3 lefties in this game here, following Michael Wacha, to prove your point. It's good to be left-handed.
In Beresford's case, yeah, he's been around now. This is his 10th year in the Twins organization. He's only 26 years old. Tyler Grimes, the batter, and he takes up and away. Grimes, a catcher by trade, Wichita, Kansas.
Sam Freeman on the mound, a graduate of the University of Kansas. Actually from Texas originally.
One 1-0 to Grimes. And there's a fastball strike.
Hard to look at Sam Freeman and say that's a guy that can throw 95 miles an hour plus. Just is not a big guy at all. Very lean, but a tremendous arm.
Grimes hitting in what was Arcia's spot Garcia went 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored. And now outside. 9 pitches so far this inning, but just 3 strikes. Over the outside corner.
That's a changeup of Sam Freeman, which he actually has better command of than his fastball at times. Kind of a little bit backwards. You'd think that the fastball would be the thing you could throw mostly over the plate, and the off-speed pitches you work on, but his changeup has very good command. You might see it again, back to back.
Dribbler to the right side. Bare-handing and throwing drives out with Beresford advancing to second. And that will bring up Meneses.
And getting more sprints in. I might just go out and run with it.
I think your time has passed. You don't have to if you want to.
Well, just a beautiful day. Why not? You can handle an inning or so, can you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you this. Tomorrow, Mr. Blyleven will not be running on the warning track at any point during.
So if I offer, he won't come with me? Not even close?
No.
And you think he will have his 87 World Series ring?
I can guarantee it. 1987 World Series ring.
Think he'll let me try it on? We'll see.
1 strike to Meneses from Venezuela. And he strokes a solid single to left. Beresford to third. Now the ball is fumbled. Beresford, who was going to be held up at third, will score.
That's Sierra in left field, and I'm sure they'll charge him with an error.
Glenn had put up the stop sign, and Beresford stopped, but then started up again. The Twins get an insurance run on the top of the 8th.
It wasn't a lack of effort. He charged the ball hard. He just didn't come up with it, and by the time he regroups, too late.
Jose Martinez, the batter for the Twins. Taken low, ball 1. Minor league free agent signed by the Twins in December. The Cardinals system years ago. Made it as far as Double-A with the Cardinals. Should be 2. And it is an inning-ending double play. Twins get a leadoff walk and an insurance run in the 8th, and the lead is drawn back to 4. And an opportunity for you again this year to watch MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, now available. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD on over 400 devices. Visit MLB.com for details. And the new pitcher with the between innings time clock in the lower right-hand corner, J.R. Graham. And we can talk all we want about how insignificant these games are, and for veteran players, of course, they're trying to get their work in. No one is more on the spot, I don't suppose, during spring training games than Rule 5 guys. Graham's one of those. Here's a chopper to third. A good play by Meneses. And a good scoop at first, one away.
Yeah, good play on both ends. And you're right about the Rule 5 guys. Those are guys that have been around, and they're getting their chance to stick with a big league team, and it's the chance they've been waiting for throughout a long minor league career. So the future is right now for them. And so every opportunity they get, they've got to be sharp, and they've got to show, and they can kind of fit some particular role for your team. So at this point, Graham wants to show Paul Molitor that I can do something for you that nobody else can do, and of course it's up to him to get it done.
Many fans are aware of the Rule 5 stipulation that in this case Graham has to make the Twins major league club or be offered back to the Atlanta Braves for half the price of $50,000, and then within that, of course, the possibility that they could work out an arrangement, make a swap. But on its surface, Graham has an advantage over every other minor leaguer in the Twins camp because the Twins drafted him with one thing in mind: to get a look at him, see if there was a spot for him in the big league roster. 25 years of age.
And the Rule 5 situation is such a help to players and keeps them from being trapped in an organization. Basically, you can't protect everybody in your organization, so you protect up to a certain number on your roster, and you leave others exposed. And if another team thinks, you know what, this guy's good enough to be a big leaguer, now you get a chance to draft him.
Breaking back on the ball in center field, and it ended up costing a base hit. Eric Ferris broke back and then ended up a step or two short, and it's a bloop single for Ortega.
Again, some tricky. This one looks like it may have jammed the hitter, and there's the back pedal first, and too late. Wind just knocks it down in front of Ferris, so Grichuk aboard.
Yep, Grichuk, not Ortega.
Out. He's had a good afternoon and a good spring.
And it's through the legs of Rolfing, and with Wilson at the plate, a runner advances to second. I notice you're keeping score of the spring training game in ink too, and I
yes.
appreciate that. I like that. I went through the pencil stage in spring training, and I figured, you know what? That's a terrible, tentative way to start your broadcasting season.
Yeah, just go after it. Now, I've noticed that you have much less mistakes on your card than I have on mine.
Ground ball to short, another chopper. And the runner, Grichuk, advances to third, but now two away. The Twins have had some success through the Rule 5 draft years ago. They ended up with Johan Santana. The obligation to keep, in this case, Graham on the big league roster would expire after this year. And as the Twins did with as many other teams do, keeping a player on the major league roster for the first season, then sending him down to the minor leagues. And in Santana's case, Bobby Cuellar instrumental in developing the great Santana changeup in the minors, and he came back to the Twins a polished reliever, then starter, and two-time Cy Young Award winner.
Terrific pitcher. Saw him throw his no-hitter at Citi Field against the Cardinals, and the only net no-hitter ever, Johan Santana. And I also found out recently that, and I'm not sure how I missed this, that Irvin Santana, who's going to be an important pitcher on this Twins team this year, his first name was Johan, and then he changed it to Urban. So that's going to, I guess, avoid a lot of confusion for Twin fans that think that Johan Santana might be back in uniform.
Particularly if the left-hander completes his comeback with the Toronto Blue Jays. He'll have a chance coming back. Last year he tried to come back with the Orioles and blew out his Achilles tendon. All kinds of shoulder issues for the left-hander.
Well, you mentioned Mike Cuellar, certainly a
Bobby
Cuellar, excuse me, a terrific pitcher himself, and the ability to teach young people something that gets them to be superstars. The unheralded important people, minor league coaching.
Good inning for J.R. Graham. A bloop single, only 4 men faced in the 8th. Left-hander Kevin Segrist comes out of the St. Louis bullpen, another left-handed reliever for the Cardinals.
And a tough year for him a year ago. Segrist had hand issues, then forearm issues, arm issues, just never quite felt right after a rookie season where he had a 0.45 earned run average. It was just lights out 2 years ago. Last year was a long season for Kevin, and very much anxious to watch him pitch and see if he can get back to that form that he had, where he was just basically a fastball guy. Here it is, hit it, and throwing 95, 96, 97 miles an hour, really almost at ease. And the National League just could not handle him 2 years ago.
Josmil Pinto, who missed some time with a quadricep pull, getting full DH duty here today. He has 2 singles and a strikeout, and will get a 9th inning at bat here. Missing the inside corner, 1-1.
Segrist, one of those pitchers in the minor leagues that had to be talked into being a reliever. He thought he was going to be a starter, and the farm director came to him and said, look, I think you're going to be a big leaguer if you'll just kind of trust me. So I think you can be nasty out of the bullpen, and he was right.
Good fastball burning the inside corner. Yeah, his numbers 2 years ago. 0.45 ERA, 17 hits in 39 2/3 innings. Just tremendous. Just 1 home run allowed in nearly 40 innings.
He's trying to develop a little more of a breaking ball. We saw it on the second pitch here to Pinto. But 2 years ago, it was primarily fastball for Derek Lilliquist, and he was just, blowing the ball by guys. Good hitters, too. Could not catch up with that Segrist fastball. He's got a long delivery, very lanky.
Foul back by Pinto. It will be Pinto.
leading off the 9th inning here. Hook foul. And then Danny Ortiz will get an at bat. And then presumably Rolfing will get another plate appearance as well. Twins taking the lead with a 4-run sixth. Combination of small ball and long ball. Giving them a 5-1 lead at the time. Now a 6-2 lead. And Pinto off the end of the bat. That wasn't the prettiest hit in the world. He's gotten 2 hits to the opposite field, and I think in each case he hit the ball right off the end of the bat. A 3-hit game for Pinto. The ball literally squirted off the end of the bat.
That's Jacob Wilson, the second baseman, and this time he gets the right jump, but really no chance. You just kind of got to be lucky there because the ball had enough spin on it. You almost have to trap it.
If any coach hit a fungo with that kind of spin on it, they would take the fungo bat away from him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can't practice those. You
No.
just put the glove out and hope you guessed right. Here's Ortiz. And a fastball just off the corner.
You mentioned Rolfing being a St. Louis native and playing for the Twins here today and growing up rooting for Ozzie Smith. And Ozzie was one of those guys that would practice tough plays. He would make the guy, whether it was Red Schoendienst or whoever the coach was, hit a ball that would be just out of his reach just so he could learn to expect to make the great plays. And, of course, Ozzie, one of the greatest defenders of all time. A chance to see him in a Cardinal uniform for many, many years. And he was down here for spring training. And it's, you mentioned Oliva and Carew being in the Twins camp. The Cardinals have had Lou Brock down here, as well as Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, some of the greats.
Kind of hoping to see Mr. Brock here today, and you searched for him, and it's kind of an odd situation, or it was 30 years ago. And I believe 1985, Lou Brock was actually an employee of the Minnesota Twins. The Twins hired him in spring training to work with the base runners, and specifically Greg Gagne, try to impart some wisdom on how to steal bases. Now, I think base stealing, although technique can be taught and all, that you either are or you aren't. Gagne was one of the fastest players in the American League going from first to third, but he was never able to develop the knack or the ability to steal bases.
Think about having Brock around with those Cardinal teams of the 80s that ran all the time. And again, mentioned Vince Coleman and McGee and others, but Brock was just almost an arrogant runner, and not an arrogant person at all.
No.
But what he would teach, and I'm sure he taught the Twins that spring, is you've got to just be 100% convinced you can do it. And it really comes from just a high level of confidence and almost arrogance when you run the bases.
Here's Rolfing. He'll get a 4th at bat. Runner at first, 1 down, with Ortiz beating the relay on what was a slowly developing double play possibility. Rolfing started at first base, worked behind the plate here in the later innings. Foul back, 1 strike. Rolfing 0 for 3, a couple of outfield flies and a strikeout. And a called strike. We have a Twins connection on the St. Louis TV crew. Tom Mee, longtime director of Cardinals television, someone I worked with a long time ago in Minnesota. His father, Tom Mee Sr., longtime media relations director for the Twins in retirement in Minnesota.
And I believe Tom Mee played college baseball with Paul Molitor at the University of Minnesota. And I believe he said he was better than Paul Molitor, although he says a lot of things. We love him.
Missing inside. That's why these knobs are here. For someone like Tom, if you just want to turn the sound down, you can turn this.
That's how that works. Oh, I see how that works.
There's Paul, long ago, Minnesota Gopher. 2-2. And fouled away.
That's been such a good baseball program over the years. Winfield went there, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Winfield, maybe the scariest guy to ever pitch to ever in a big league uniform is to have to pitch to Dave Winfield.
Mentioned earlier Glenn Perkins, a former Gopher now too, the Twins closer, the guy who got the save in the All-Star game this year. Good reports today with his workout. Bit of a oblique pull strain or something. But a hard workout yesterday. Pitched off the mound today with no reported problems. The hope is he'll get into a game in the next few days. A little bit different when you have a issue like that and you're a closer. You're only expected to pitch one inning anyway, as opposed to, you know, what Adam Wainwright's going through, and you got a core muscle issue, and then you try to catch up and work your way into the ability to go at least 5 or 6 on opening day. And the dirt that may have hit Rolfing, he'll get first base one way or the other, first and second one down.
Perkins has been so steady the last couple of years, piling up the saves, 70 saves over 2 seasons, and very consistent with his numbers, and somebody you can build a bullpen around.
Well, Ferris will hit in what was Aaron Hicks's spot. Hicks hitless, but a walk, stolen base, some good alert base running in the 4-run 6th. Was looking for some insurance here in the 9th.
Breaking ball a little erratic so far for Kevin Segrist.
He's trying to hit that inside corner to the right-handed batters, but he's missed. 1-0. And taken up high, 2-0.
Well, you talk more about his numbers from 2013, but he was in 45 games that year, and I'll bet there wasn't 2 games all year long where he kind of labored the way he is here this afternoon. I mean, he was literally lights out every time out, and he's just trying to get back to that form again.
Popped up left field. Sierra comes in. 2 away. And then we'll bring up Argenis Diaz. Again, these two teams will face each other in Fort Myers tomorrow at the newly renovated CenturyLink Sports Complex. That's one thing I know, that Cardinals have a great facility here, and as you've traveled around the Grapefruit League, it must blow your mind, the facilities now in big league baseball in spring training.
It's incredible. It really is.
Fouled back.
And it isn't just the ballpark. It's actually some of the kind of the internal structures that are created here, and the clubhouses are just huge, and Cardinals are really trying to add on to their facility here. They're trying to add on a bigger kitchen because that's become much more of an important factor for their team, as well as a bigger weight facility. And the weight room's already pretty big, but they want to double or triple the size of it because that's part of what getting players ready is all about right now.
Foul back. Twins invested heavily on the minor league side, what in essence is a dormitory for their low-level minor leaguers, and included in the academy, as they call it, is a cafeteria where they serve just healthy food. They have a wall, a dispenser of drinks, and there's not a soft drink to be found. You couldn't find a carbonated beverage there if you had a $100 bill you were ready to give up for it. It's all juices, you know, and power drinks and drinks like that. There's a check swing, and it will end the inning.
Remind me not to visit there.
appears to be an awfully prominent player for the Minnesota Twins, an impact player, and he's had an impact in the game here today for Paul Molitor's team. Miguel Sano playing at third base for the Twins, lifted one up and out in the 6th.
Yeah, he hit a long one in the 6th inning. This was a no-doubter off of Tyler Lyons, and that bounced off of the building, the Marlins clubhouse in left field here. And that was a no-doubter, and you can see why Paul Molitor and the rest of the leadership of the Minnesota Twins is excited about Miguel Sano, and you can also see why he's a top 10 prospect in all of baseball.
Number 1 prospect with Ryan Presley on the mound, hoping to pitch a clean 9th inning. Number 1 prospect in baseball, even though he didn't play much last year, Byron Buxton, center fielder. Presley spent parts of the last 2 years with the Twins. 2 years ago, he was a Rule 5 pickup out of the Boston Red Sox organization. Fly ball center field. Fair is back and over. You talk about mixed emotions. Presley was drafted out of Double-A from the Red Sox. Spent his entire year with the big league club in 2013, which would, you'd think, be a really good thing, but then saw some of his teammates go on and win the World Series in 2013. So it was very much a bittersweet year for Presley.
Well, it's always bittersweet in this game. You build relationships, and these guys are doing that in spring training. They're going to spend a lot of time with each other over 6 months. You and I understand their life, and it's a long story that starts here in the spring, but you get really connected with these guys in a special way. But you got to be ready to take opportunities when they come too, and most players do not stay with one team forever. It's become a rarity in this game.
You can see why the Twins thought so highly of him. He's got a good 94, 95 mile per hour fastball, a decent breaking ball, throws straight over the top. Mechanically, looks like he's very solid. Shouldn't have any arm issues. Throws a breaking ball there and gets a tapper foul. Was a starting pitcher primarily in the Red Sox system, but had some success in his final year with the Red Sox and so far with the Twins as a reliever. There's a wicked breaking ball down around the shoe tops. Sierra's a strikeout victim, 2 down.
And those kids aren't tired yet down the right field line. They're still running. They are still running. A lot of energy. Getting ready for a long season. I don't think they've watched a pitch yet either. But they love being at the ballpark.
2 down. And Cody Stanley is the batter. On the left, and to the reach of Tyler Grimes. Grimes is a catcher by trade, and getting a chance to play out in left field, and that one sailed, spun, and sliced away from him.
We've seen that same little jet stream here at Roger Dean Stadium about 4 times in the past week. It's right about there. It's that height, not higher. It's just kind of medium line drive that just seems to be scooting over the head of the left fielders, and Cardinals with a little more life.
See it all the time. I've always thought, particularly for outfielders, it's really tough. Here in Florida, I would imagine it's the same in Arizona. You get the wind patterns and everything, and the ball just blows all over the place, and then seems like much more stable playing conditions once the regular season starts.
Absolutely. Cardinals giving a shot here for Aledmys Diaz, who is one of their newest players, was signed from Cuba a year ago. He's a shortstop, and there's talk about him being the shortstop of the future. Diaz came over last year, had not been able to play while he was defecting for quite a long time and was a little rusty, had some arm issues, but he's ready to go here this spring training. Aledmys Diaz.
Fastball inside. 3-1. Cruz is on deck. If Diaz can extend the game. First 2 outs came pretty quickly. On a fly ball and a strikeout. Stroke to left, a base hit. will be held at third. First and third, 2 away. And Cruz will hit with 2 men aboard in a 4-run ballgame.
That's a nice at bat by Diaz. Turns on that pitch from Presley, middle in.
Cruz struck out in the 7th inning, facing A.J. Hector. So far, the only 2 Cardinal runs have come on solo home runs. One allowed by Nolasco, and the other by Hector. Going to second without any interest shown by the Twins. Second and third now, 2 down. 1 strike. Stephen Piscotty's in the on-deck circle. Should Cruz reach?
Steady diet of breaking balls to Cruz with these 2 at-bats we've seen from him, and he just doesn't seem very comfortable at this point, although Tony's had a good spring. He's a little slimmer as well. We talked about Molina. I think Cruz has cut weight a little bit too.
It's the inside corner with a fastball.
And he figures to be the solid backup for Yachty. Does a nice job behind the plate.
A little bit low. Outcome possible for Ryan Presley, who entered the game with a 4-run lead, first 2 outs, and now he's 1 pitch away from filling the bases and getting the tying run to the plate. There's a strike and a full count. Cardinals out hitting the Twins 11-8. Just off the plate. Ball 4. They're loaded up now for Piscotty. Presley thought he'd flip the outside corner, but instead Piscotty has a chance to tie the game up with 1 swing of the bat.
Piscotty, the #1 hitting prospect of the Cardinals organization. Had a terrific spring a year ago. And in some ways, you'd say would have made this team had there been a spot for him. He was as good as anybody in spring training. Hit .288 in AAA a year ago. And a chance to thrill this crowd here.
Bouncer foul. Presley starting in with a breaking ball, 1 strike.
Steady diet of breaking balls is hitting really to everybody, including the 3-2 pitch with a 6-2 lead.
Cardinals left the bases full in the 7th. Hector had walked a couple of men to give the Cardinals a threat, but then struck out the last 2 batters, and Presley hoping for a similar outcome. Another breaking ball. This one off the plate. Pitch left up, and Piscotty tried to spin on it and fouled it back.
Unless your last name is Blyleven, most pitchers have trouble with throwing too many breaking balls in 1 inning. You're bound to hang one.
He just hung one, didn't he?
I'm not sure whether that was a fastball or a curveball, but it hung for sure in the eyes of Piscotty. Again, I'm sure Burt Blyleven never hung a curveball. I'm pandering.
1-2 to Piscotty. Hopped up down the right field line near the bullpen. And out of play. 4 or 5 rows back. One and 2. Presley handed a 4-run lead, and what he wanted more than anything else here is to just have a nice orderly inning. He and his teammates get back on the bus for a 2-hour, 45-minute bus ride back to Fort Myers. Nice save by Rolfing. Cardinals have gotten the minimum out of the maximum. We mentioned they've out-hit the Twins. They've had ample opportunities to jump back into the lead here. They've already left 10 men on, and they've got the bases loaded here in the ninth. 2-2. Taking ball off the plate. Grichuk on deck. When the first two batters were retired, I don't imagine he thought there was much of a chance he'd have another opportunity, but Presley in danger of walking in a run.
Presley throwing about 70% breaking balls. You'd have to think he's going to come with a fastball 3-2 after all of those curveballs.
24 pitches, a dozen strikes. And a bases loaded walk. The tying runs aboard. He's going to want to get anybody warmed up, but now Neil Allen, the former Cardinal pitcher, will motion down to the bullpen on his way down out to the mound. He's going to get a left-hander warming up. 4 straight batters have reached with 2 gone in the inning. A slicing double over the head of a transplanted catcher in left field. Base hit, now a pair of walks. Grichuk started the scoring with a home run to left. 2 for 4 on the day.
Game's never easy in the ninth inning, is it?
They gave each team 27 outs. The Cardinals used up 26 of them, but now Grichuk with a chance to win the ball game for the Cardinals if he can go deep again. Bouncer foul.
One thing you like about Grichuk, in the little that I've seen him and been around him, he's not afraid. He swings the bat, he's ready, acts like he belongs. That's where, if you're Presley, you have to kind of come up with that same attitude right now. Yeah, I got myself in a little trouble, but you can't hit me. And you just got to act that way, and if they do, they do, but you just got to start between your ears.
Foul back, 1-2, and Presley's one good pitch away from getting out of this mess. Left-hander Ryan O'Rourke is warming up. One would think, one way or the other, Grichuk will be the last man Presley faces here. Popped up. Right side looks to be playable. Beresford ends it. And the Cardinals leave the bases full for the second time in the last 3 innings. And the Twins come to Jupiter and pull out a 6-3 win.
Really was a game of home runs, wasn't it? The Cardinals had a couple of solo shots. That was Randall Grichuk and Mark Reynolds. But the real difference in the game was Miguel Sano, a long 3-run shot in the 6th inning. And really a towering home run, and really fun to watch him play. And in some ways a sloppy game, but it is spring training after all.
3 runs for the Cardinals, 13 men left on, and the Twins win at 6-3. More from Jupiter in a moment.